Welcome back to another episode of Journey to Happiness. Today I have one of my best friends, my favorite humans on the planet. She is a corporate leader, she is a entrepreneur, a business owner, a wife, and a wonderful mother. My best friend, Vicky. How do you say
Davidishvili.
it? Wait, what? Okay, how do you say her last name again?
Davidishvili.
That's her last name. I just call her Vicky. Or Vicky D. Like a lot of your stuff says Vicky D, like right on the
Yeah.
on your website and all the things. How are you?
Oh my God, I'm doing so well. I'm so excited to be here and to have this conversation. I feel like we both have been manifesting this since the moment we met. I feel like we've been manifesting it. And Chrissy, I want to recognize what a beautiful full circle moment this is because
Oh.
you and I met because I had launched my podcast a couple of years back and I was looking for guests, and you kind of raised your hand, and you were just your sunshine personality, left me a message. I don't know if you want to tell that story. I leave that to you, but we met that way. And now here I am having the honor of being on your podcast. And I just get chills,
Oh.
thinking that. So I just think it's really
Oh.
beautiful.
I that's awesome. First of all, yes, I will tell that story just a little bit because I think it's important for people to hear this. How me and you met, like because it was so wild. So we were in the FTP program together, which was like a free beta launch program they have. Many people listening to this might know what FTP is, but like we had joined that together and like there were like hundreds of people on there saying like who wants to be on my podcast, who wants to be on my YouTube, like all of it. And you said that, like I saw a comment from you or a post, and I raised my hand, and I didn't raise my hand for anyone else. Like everyone was asking, and I was just like, I'm gonna raise my hand for this girl. And then you messaged me, and it was like we had things going on, like you had vacation, I had vacation, all the things happening. But then we did it. And then that evolved into like a friendship and like another podcast we started doing with some other women. And it that was what, almost 3 years ago? Was it almost
Three or two?
two?
I feel
Oh,
like
almost two. Two.
it's closer to two.
I
Yeah.
think it's two. I think it's two. Yeah, because it was 2023. Yeah. So I don't know. So now it's like I have you here, and like I'm so excited because when I first met you, I was actually intimidated by you. Like I was like, this woman is like this corporate businesswoman who's like a leader and who's like doing all of these things and and she's like got this like I don't know, whatever, like this picture perfect life. And then we get to know each other. And I realize like you do have an amazing life. Obviously, you're very blessed, but like, I'm like, she's like a human like everybody else. She's just like a regular woman, like everyone else is. And like, she's just no different. And we just formed a connection. And here we are. Here we are. So, Vicky, I want to take it back a little bit. So we're gonna get to all of the things you're doing now. We're gonna get to like the communities you're building. You have a tea business, you have a I don't know what to call it, but like a community, I guess, called Wealthy and Unstoppable, which I am a part of. But I want like people to get to know you a little bit on like where you started. Like who are you? Who was Vicky as a little girl and like how did you get to the point where you are now and like kind of like take us a little bit on the journey of like what your journey to happiness has been.
Oh, that's such a big question. And I
I
love
know.
that. First
So
of
share
all,
whatever you're comfortable with. So
no, you know what? One of the things that you're going to get to know about me is that I used to really fear being authentic and to allow my true self to come through. But through the many experiences, and some of which I will share, I've certainly become a lot more comfortable with allowing my full self to come through. So, who am I? This is such a brilliant question. This is the question that got me on the quest of my spiritual awakening, in all honesty. So, during COVID, when the world had shut down and we had to face ourselves, I went through this deep, silent pause in my life where I had gone from being busy all the time, whether it was with work, with friends, with things to do, places to go, people to see, right, with children. And here I was having to face myself in complete stillness and silence. And one of the questions I had asked myself was, who are you? Like, who are you? What what
Mhm.
what do you like to do? And I remember looking at myself in the mirror and seeing tears going down my face because I genuinely couldn't answer that question. I was 45. I had accomplished all that I had set out to accomplish. I had reached, pretty high levels at work. I had my two beautiful, perfect children. I had the house, the picket fence, right? The dream.
Yeah.
And yet there was this deep, deep hollowness inside, deep emptiness. And in that emptiness, in that void, I had to find myself. So I pause here. Feel free to ask me any questions.
Yeah. So
But yeah.
okay. So you had to take a pause. You had to find yourself. So how did you do that? Like what led to you finding yourself? Like what did you do?
Hmm. Um, well, first of all, I cried a lot.
Yeah.
Um, a lot, a lot. I really took to journaling. So I've always loved writing and reading. I've always loved to read. I was always a voracious reader and I've always loved to write. And in that stillness, when I had the pause and I had the time, I started writing and I started journaling. One of the questions that I would ask myself was, who are you? And it was really hard for me to answer that. And the more that I tried to answer the question, the more it was becoming very apparent that I was everybody else's definition of me. I was my mom's definition of me. I was my sister's definition of me. I was the people pleasing wife. I was, people pleaser at work, you know, um, really confident on the outside, but very lacking confident on the inside with a lot of imposter syndrome on the inside,
Hmm.
always feeling like luck had gotten me to where I was, or really, really hard work had gotten me to where I was. I was willing to outwork anybody. I was willing to do anything it took to succeed. And so the more that I introspected, the more it became very apparent that I had no idea who I really was. So I started by asking myself the question of like, okay, so what do you enjoy doing? What do I enjoy doing?
Hmm.
Not because someone else wants me to do it, but me. And that's when I was like, I enjoy baking. I actually really enjoy baking, or I really enjoy walking, or being in nature, or running, or this and that. So I kind of just started at the very high, superficial level. What do I like to do? Okay. What what do I, who do I, who do I like being? Like, if I could paint a picture of who I want to be like, who would be that?
Hmm.
I remember asking myself, what is my ideal day? Like, if I woke up in the morning,
Hmm.
how am I feeling and what does that day look and feel like? And what I saw was a life that was really different from the one that I was living. And I didn't realize that what I was doing was meditation because I'd never really meditated in my life. But what came through was that like I woke up and I will never forget this meditation. I come up to my computer, at my computer. I'm running my own company. I was like, running my own company? Like, I've never run my own company, right? Like, I've always been an employee. I don't even know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
that is, right? I'm in this like totally different home than the one that I was at. I was like, what? Who is this? And where is this? So where is this life? And so that started to show me that, what my soul desired was something very different than what I had. And so from that, I asked myself, okay, so I'm here. I want to be there. How do I begin to get there? Like, I really didn't know the how. So lots of journaling, lots of crying, lots of introspecting, and then lots of taking action. One of the things that I got really comfortable was failing. I had grown up being such a perfectionist, such a high achiever.
Hmm.
I always wanted to be at the top. So it was really hard for me to fail or to be bad at something. So I went on this journey of doing things that petrified me. So, like, one of the things that petrified me was tennis. I absolutely
I
loathed
was just thinking about that story that you told me. So yes, keep going. Tennis.
I absolutely loathed tennis.
I remember.
Why? Because I had created the story in my head that I am completely uncoordinated. There's like no way I can have the racket, hit the ball on the court while running simultaneously, right? So I started taking up tennis lessons, and I remember being on the tennis court and full on shaking. Like, I kid you not, like heart beating, shaking, legs just carrying me to the ball, feeling so embarrassed because I knew I was the absolute worst in the class. And I remember showing up for it for like a year and a half. I kept showing up at tennis classes because it was like, I can do hard things. I can do hard things. And so and I became kind of like comfortable with failure. And then I just kind of started laughing at myself every time I failed. So instead of feeling like it was the end of the world, I
Yeah.
full on thought it was hilarious and comical. So I pause
Yeah.
here. I've spoken for so long.
No, you're fine. Because I remember that story. I remember you talking about tennis and pottery. Pottery was another one. You said you told me that like the instructor had to like come up and like help you or something. You were like, it was a mess, but you did it anyway. I remember that story. So, and another story I remember you telling me, and I hope you don't mind I mention this, but I think as mothers, wives, daughters, sisters, whatever it is, right? We tend to do everything that they want. Like, we come home, we make the dinner, we take them to practice, we do this, we do that. And you had said something to me one time. I'm going to paraphrase. I don't remember your exact words, but you had said that you guys were having dinner or something, and I don't know if it wasn't ready yet. I don't know if you remember the story, but something about like your family was kind of pushing at you and you kind of stood up and were like, "What about me?" Do you remember this? You know what
I
I'm talking
do.
about, right? How was
So
that a pivotal moment in your life through this journey?
yeah, that's a beautiful moment. I thank you so much for remembering that. I've now even forgotten it, but now it really flooded back.
Yeah.
So, I alluded to having been a people pleaser and having been just kind of like the person who catered to everybody else's needs. And, I also come from a background where my mom always used to say to me, "Oh, you cannot be an executive and be a good mom." Like, being a good mom, being a good wife, like, was above all else, right? So I was culturally conditioned to always do for everyone else before I did for myself. Well, when I was at the bottom and I needed to find a way to get myself out of the abyss, I started to take classes. So there was the tennis class, I did pottery. I had also registered for a writing class because I love writing. So I was like learning how to write fiction really well. So long story short, we're having sitting around the table eating dinner. And I announced to the family that I had signed up for like two
Oh,
or three different
yeah,
classes.
yeah.
And I will never forget how my oldest daughter was like, "What? So who's going to do my homework with me?" Right?
Yeah.
And the little one was like, "Oh my God, you're just never going to be around." And my husband, he was really upset and frustrated. And he was like, "So what? Now we're just never going to see you. We should be looking for you in your classes." And I sat there like completely baffled. And I looked around the table and I said, you, and you. All I hear from you is what am I going to be doing for you? But who is going to be doing for me?" I said, "Where am I in this conversation?" And I stood up and I just stormed upstairs and I left the family sitting at the table. And it was such a pivotal moment because that was the moment that for the first time in my life where I had stood up for myself, for what I wanted. And I didn't feel that guilt and shame for wanting to do something for myself. And that
Hmm.
was new and that was different because
Hmm.
that was the moment that I ended my mom guilt.
Oh, the good old mom guilt. What are you drinking?
Just hot water with lemon.
Oh, hot water with lemon. Okay. Sorry, guys. I digress. But no, I love that story because as a mom myself, we feel like we have to like do everything for them, right? And I don't know what your take on this is, but like I don't know if it's society. I feel like it is society like that teaches us that. Like, we come from these times where like the woman stays home and takes care of the kids and the father goes out and works and like even if the mom works, like she's still supposed to be like the one doing everything. And I'm like, not in my book. Like in my book, if like both people are working, and even if you have kids, like I have, a couple older kids living with me, like I'm going out and working, like I'm going to support you. You're going to do everything in the house. Like I shouldn't have to do shit. Like I'll do my own laundry, but I shouldn't have to do dishes. I shouldn't have to really cook all the dinners. Like I do cook some, but like my son also chips in a lot. Like if I'm gonna be supporting you, then but if you have people who are all working in the house, then I think it should be split. But I feel like society doesn't teach us that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that it's the norm for the woman to have to bear it all, regardless of whether you work, regardless of what you do, regardless of how much you make. We're definitely being pigeonholed um, into our roles. But it's so funny because I'm reflecting on the story and it's a couple of years forward, right? It's like 3 or 4 years from when that had happened. And I'm like, oh my God, like my family would never even think to say those things to me anymore. Because, you
Really?
know, yeah. Oh God, no.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even they wouldn't dare. Um, eh, no, no,
No,
no. I'm
no,
like, no, that just wouldn't
no,
happen
that wouldn't
anymore.
happen. So,
That just
okay.
wouldn't happen anymore.
So you go through that journey, you have your spiritual awakening journey. You're still working in corporate. Then what happens? So you decide you start to find yourself. And then you start to pivot with career. I mean, obviously you're still in corporate, but you start to realize like you want to do something better. So take me on that journey. Like what was that entrepreneurial, I don't know how to say that word, but that journey, you started, was the tea business the first thing that you did? Or I know you were kind of getting your face out there, but like where was like the beginning of that journey? Like I want to do something different.
Oh yeah. I
Oh yeah.
oh my God, Chrissy, it is such a long journey, but there's a statistic that says that 9 out of 10 startups fail.
Hmm.
And it's a very real statistic, let me tell you, because I've always had the entrepreneurial bug. I've just never, I think, stuck with something long enough to actually see whether it's going to succeed or fail, in
Hmm.
all honesty. Um, what happened was in late 2022 in December. So I had just gotten my new job and I'm really enjoying it. It's in New York City. I got off the train, and when I got off the train, I was what is the word? I don't want to say the word attacked, but kind of like it was a robbery and assaulted, and they shoved me into the ground and they stole my purse, and then I was able to recover my purse. I chased the perpetrators, and then I ended up in the emergency
I didn't
room.
know that you chased them.
Oh,
I
you
know
didn't
the
know?
story. I didn't know you chased them though.
Oh, I sure did. I chased them with broken teeth, with a bleeding mouth, with uh bruised knees and elbows. I was bruised everywhere. It was horrific. And what they didn't realize is that I'm a runner.
Yeah.
And I jumped up and I chased them, and I chased them up a hill in a park. I caught up to them. And then, there was a an undercover policeman who was standing there, and an off-duty policeman, and he was able to call in the cops and they caught them. But this incident is what prompted me to start writing on social media. I had never intended to, I didn't know where this would take me. The only reason I was writing about it is because I was kind of on that spiritual awakening journey. I was practicing gratitude and forgiveness and just like really um, stepping into a new way of being.
Hmm.
And so I really wanted people to know that even when something so horrific happens, you could choose to see it through the lens of love. You could choose to be grateful. You could choose to forgive. You could choose to be your higher self, even in a circumstance like this.
Hmm.
So when I wrote about that, people just flooded me and started telling me that I needed to get out there in social media and start really sharing about my way of being. And so that's what prompted me to launch my YouTube channel. That's what prompted me to say, well, maybe I create a podcast. So that's how I got on that whole journey. And the loose leaf tea came about as part of my healing journey because I was anxious. I couldn't sleep at night. I used to feel the perpetrators' hands on me. So, as I was trying to heal through that, my sister introduced me to loose leaf tea and just tea as being an ancient remedy. And so, as I got more and more into the wellness and into understanding the health benefits of loose leaf tea, I said to her, I said, oh my God, we should bring this to everybody. Everyone should have the opportunity to enjoy, loose leaf tea or these ancient remedies to help us feel better, to help us sleep better at night, to help us reduce that anxiety, to help us heal our skin. Like nettle is so good for your skin, or peppermint is really good for when you feel anxious, to just like calm the senses, right? Or ginger is like so amazing for gut health. So, anyways, that's how I got into that. And it's been a really interesting and a beautiful journey. It's not easy, let me tell you. It is not easy launching a company, even figuring out how do you create a website? What products do you want to carry? What kind of blends are you going to create? Where do you find the customers? It hasn't been easy, but it's been incredibly rewarding. And I just feel so blessed and so lucky that I get to do this now.
So yeah, so like something that was so tragic that happened in your life, you turned it into a blessing, and you get to do it with your sister, who has been there to support you every step of the way from that tragic accident. And your teeth got fixed, and you have a beautiful smile, and everything healed. And, I'm sure it was a really long road to go through that. And of course, I'm always sorry that you had to go through that. But I know that it made you who you are now and like the person that you've became and the person that you are becoming, which I get to witness, which is so fucking cool. Because I get to just watch the growth. And I remember you, 2 years ago, like just starting off on, having the YouTube and like getting out there and asking people like if you could interview them. And like I remember, when we just bonded over that because we were both like, we don't know what we're doing, but like we're gonna we're gonna do it anyway. And then we formed a podcast with two other people, which was just us girls chatting, really. Like let's just call it what it was. But it was so, and that all started from like mine and your conversation. And you were like, well, like now people need like to learn how to love themselves. And you were already talking about the tea business back then too. You were already talking about the tea business when we met. So, and then, okay, so then that was happening. So the tea business was happening, but you still had this like inner calling that you wanted to help people even more. Like you're helping them with the tea, the wellness benefits of it, but then you decided like I'm going to help people even more and, I'm going to help them with their money, right? You decided you were going to help them with their money because me and you have had these conversations, but like money is just one of those things. I think, we have this misconception where people are like, oh, money doesn't make the world go round, it's love and yada, yada, yada. And I get all of that, right? Like, money doesn't buy happiness, but money is a tool that we need in order to survive in this world, in this human experience that we're having. And, you can have somebody leave your life, even if it's through death, which sucks, but it can happen. You can lose a relationship. You can lose all of those things, and it like you're not gonna like die from it. But like money is kind of one of those things that like you kind of need to survive. And I know that was a long-winded way of saying like you started this community where you're teaching people and you're going on this journey with people about how to become this money badass. So how did this come about? For the obviously I know, but like for the listeners, like I know some of it obviously, but like where like because you are pretty financial but you've been on a journey. Like you've told me your ups and downs, like you've made some bad investment decisions in the past and you've went through all like the trial and errors, but like just take me on the journey of this.
Mhm. Well, first of all, so I just launched the Wealthy and Unstoppable community, but that wouldn't have existed if it weren't for you, Chrissy.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm dead serious. It wouldn't have been if it hadn't been for you. Like name one thing, Chrissy, that comes to you really, really naturally.
Talking.
Okay.
But no, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like that was the first thing that came to mind.
Which I love, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And you probably don't realize that that's a superpower. And like millions of people probably wish that they could talk and that they could connect with other people through talking, right? And you have this gift and this superpower that you don't even realize you have until maybe somebody comes and tells you or asks you for help. Like imagine if somebody came to you and was like, Chrissy, I need to learn how to talk to people. Can you help me with
I can
that?
help with that. Yeah.
What would you
Being
do?
being vulnerable and all those things. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
those are your superpowers, 100%. I mean, you were such a big part of the reason I've kind of started to feel safer with being more vulnerable and with being more open with people. I remember when I met you and you just like wore your heart on your sleeve. And I was like, oh my God, like, how does she do that? Like, how does she
Aw.
open up like that? Like, and I was in awe of you for that. Like, because it's easier to hide and it takes a lot more courage to be open and vulnerable and honest, and I didn't have that courage. And every time you met me with that courage, every single time, I was like, oh my God. And I was learning from you. And so, as part of the conversations that we would have, you would tell me about money stuff, right? And,
Yeah.
men so sensitive. And can we just say it is so taboo to talk about money? We don't talk about our
Yeah.
salaries. We don't talk about how much we have in our bank accounts. It's just taboo. Growing up, children are not supposed to know about money. They're not supposed to know how much we have. They're not supposed to know how much we spend, right?
Mhm.
We're not taught about money or money stewardship or leading our money as kids. We're not taught about it at school. Where the hell are we taught about it? In the school of hard knocks, when you start making all the mistakes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so let me tell you, I mean, I've made every single mistake under the sun. Maxed out your credit cards. Hello. Um, you know, tried to get rich quick with like day trading, stocks. Hello. Ruined credit. Hello. Like I've made every single mistake. And the thing is, not to boast, but I'm somebody who has an MBA. I have I have an undergraduate in business. I have a master's in business. The number of courses I have taken on finance and accounting is a few too many. I have worked in the financial services industry for over 20 years, spanning all the way from credit cards to personal finance to asset management to, I mean, you name it, right? And even I continue to make all of these mistakes. And even I was having a hard time managing money. And the interesting thing about it is that this is the piece that is really missing. You have all of these companies teaching you the technical ways of investing or technical analysis to know when to buy and when to sell a stock, the technicalities of formulating a budget and not buying a Starbucks coffee, right? And that's how you save for your retirement. The problem is that they're teaching you things that your nervous system is not ready to even like understand nor react and respond to, right? Because here's the thing, I was a high earning woman who just continued to somehow flush money down the drain. And it wasn't me. It's not like I was buying myself lavish clothing. That's not what would happen. But it would be something out of like left field coming up, and we would be maxing out our credit cards or going out to dinners like nonstop and just wasting thousands and thousands of dollars on that, right? And so when you came to me and you said, Vicky, I'm ready. Like, I need help with finance. Help me. I knew exactly where you had been because I had been there once too many
Mhm.
times myself. And I had to learn how to become safe and secure when it came to my money, how to become okay with opening up my bills, looking at the bills that are coming through. And it's not even that I didn't have the money in the bank account to pay the bills. There was just this resistance, this avoidant behavior when it came to money. And that comes back to our nervous system dysregulation. And so that is why I created this community, especially for women, where we can come together in a supportive environment. And so that we can be emotionally safe and secure with money so that we can be the leaders of our money. We're also, I'm also teaching the technical aspects of understanding the fundamentals of finance. So, for example, when you look at all of this volatility that we see in the
Hmm.
marketplace, okay, Chrissy, I'm about to get started. So
Oh,
I'm just
you
not gonna,
go right ahead. Go right ahead. The floor is yours.
no, I'm about to get very passionate. But you know, like I understand why everyone is so afraid of what's happening in the market because you see volatility up, down, tariffs are on, tariffs are off, markets are up 20%, markets are down 20%. I get it. I get it. And markets don't like uncertainty. I get that too. But the thing is, the true stewards of money, they're not just reacting and responding to this. They're looking at everything macroeconomically, right? And the thing is, you have to understand both microeconomics as well as macroeconomics to understand the true driver of our financial markets. And the true driver of our financial markets is the liquidity cycle. What's the liquidity cycle? Well, that's when you have liquidity, literally cash, going into the system, pumping into the system so that we can pay off our debt because we have a debt driven financial system.
Mhm.
So we need to refinance the debt that we have, the trillions of dollars. Once that happens, the interest rates are going to go down. They're going to pump money into the markets. And oh my God, it's going to be an explosion. It has happened so many times. We've seen these cycles, and markets are cyclical. Long story short, this is the type of information that I want to teach the women. Men are welcome, everybody's welcome, but I just hate this narrative in the marketplace, and I hate this narrative that is out there that women are bad with money. Do you know that women are actually better with money because we're like less we don't take as crazy risks. We are more calm, cool, and collected when we see the gyrations in the market. We're able to withstand the storm. And there's so much data pointing to women being better investors and to women being better with finances. So I want to end that story and I want to start to create a new narrative that we are the girl bosses of our money. And not only that, but women are set to inherit $30 trillion in wealth by 2030. This is huge. There is a ginormous transfer of wealth happening. And are we ready? Because you know what? When a lottery winner wins the money, it's
Hmm.
not about having the money. It's about being able to manage that money.
We all know those stories too. Like we all know those lottery winners. Like the
They
statistics.
lose it
Yeah,
all
they lose it all. Yeah, they lose it all.
because they don't know what to do. Energetically, they don't
Mhm.
have an energetic vessel that can hold the money, that energy, because money is currency. It
Mhm.
comes from current. Current is energy. So they can't even hold that current. They can't hold that energy. And they don't know the fundamentals of finance, so they don't know what to do. I mean, for God's sakes, if they would just take it and put it into the worst performing mutual fund, they would still be better than what ends up happening to them,
Yeah,
even if they're at least having the returns at the rate of inflation.
yeah.
Oh, so that is what drives me and what inspires me. And I really want to create that generation of girl bosses who can inherit the wealth, hold the wealth, grow the wealth, but women also share the wealth. And I want us to share the wealth.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack with that. All of what you just said, there's so much to impact because, first of all, I don't, and me and you know each other probably as well as I know anybody. And I don't know if I've ever actually heard you tell the story like that, where you said, like, you would just like you were making all this money, but it was like disappearing. Like, I don't think you ever told me that because that's, as you know, that's my money story. Like, I can make fucking money like no one's business. Like, I can make over six figures. It's not an issue for me. I can't hold on to it. Like, it disappears. And when you took me through the meditation we did, that was like a game changer for me because it was like, oh my gosh, like I feel like it just, I'm always afraid it's going to abandon me because relationships have always abandoned me. So again, it's just like a wound showing up in a different form. You stop dating, then it just disappears in another form. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. So there's that aspect. The other aspect that's so interesting to me is me and you have had this conversation too, where, there's this notion, and you hear it like on the news, you hear on podcasts, you hear people say, there's this disparity between women and men in the workforce, and that women don't make as much, and it's sexist, and all these things. And I remember asking you about this, and I'm going to let you respond here in a minute because I actually get kind of mad when I hear those stories because I don't believe it. I don't believe that we have, don't get me wrong, we have some sexism, probably same as racism, whatever. Like, there's always going to be a little bit, but like, I don't believe that we have this thing where like they're like, oh, you're a man or you're a woman or you're this or you're that, so you can't make as much. And so I remember talking to you about this, and I was like, what is your thoughts on this? And I agree with your thoughts because some of what you said was that it's that women don't understand how to negotiate because they haven't been taught. And I believe that too. And I know me growing up, that was part of it too, is that like my mom was a stay-at-home mom until I was in fifth or sixth grade. So my dad had all the money. Like that, and money wasn't talked about. My mom still doesn't talk about money. Like if I ask her like what she makes, like I kind of know, but she doesn't like to tell me. She wants it hush hush. It's very hush hush to her. Whereas like my dad, it's no problem. Like he'll tell you in a heartbeat, like this is what I make, like whatever. Oh no, I'm gonna get this extra money. Like he doesn't have any qualms about talking about it. So when we bring up this whole women versus men thing, and no disrespect to men or women, but I just think that like I think you hit it on the nail on the head when you said I just don't think women know how to negotiate the way they
Yeah,
should. So I'll let you respond to that.
I love that. No, I love that question. And I'll give you an answer, and I can talk about this for hours, so stop me. But first of all, I have this free document that I created. And please, 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 everybody download it because you just said something. And literally in that document, I ask you 5 questions that help you uncover your relationship with money. One of the questions is, my mom's relationship with money was. Another question is, my father's relationship with money was.
Mm,
And the reason that I created this document with these 5 questions, because I remember reflecting on my mom's relationship with money. And oh my God, is she scarcity minded? Like to her, if you have money, it's going to leave you because that was her experience as a kid. And the thing is, we carry that generational, multi-generational
yeah,
trauma in our bodies.
yeah.
So her mother, so my grandmother's experience was that you can be really wealthy and then money leaves you. My mom's experience was the same exact thing because she was very wealthy and then very poor. Money left her. So, and you need to work extremely hard to make money. Whereas my dad was like, money is everywhere. You can make money out of a piece of paper. You can make money out of a tree. You can make like, to my dad, money was very different, but my dad like almost like worshiped money. So it was like his everything, right? And so then you wonder, like, there's a part of me that used to feel uber scarce, like, oh my God. And the money would run away from me, right? That scarcity, like I have it, but it's gonna leave me because my mom's dad went bankrupt, then my dad went bankrupt. I mean, it's like a whole thing, right? So there's all this trauma that has been in my body. And that's why I really want us to start to reflect on where these stories are coming from because they're not even our own. These traumas are not even our own. They're not our own lived experiences, but they're our parents' experiences, our grandparents' experiences that we're carrying inside us.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you heal it within yourself, you heal 7 generations of women before you and 7 generations of women after you.
Hmm.
That's why this work is so incredibly important. The what you do right now matters. Okay, so that's that. You can download it on my website. Please, like,
We'll link
this,
it all in the we'll link it in the show
yes,
notes. We'll link the websites and everything in the show notes. So
this is just to help. This is just to help. But let's go back to this whole conversation of how much people make. I'm going to answer it to you 2 ways, both as an employee as well as a hiring manager. As an employee, when I negotiate my salaries, oh, I negotiated, let's, no, step back. When I look at what I am compensated, I believe that I'm compensated extremely well. When I look at how I compensate the people on my team, and I employ men and women, this is at my current job. I have a pretty sizable team. I've hired quite a few people at this point. I've hired men, women, different genders, different ethnicities, different races, I mean, different age groups. And I can very genuinely tell you there is no disparity between men and women in the way that I do the comp.
mhm.
Everything is based on their tenure, on, the pay grouping, etc. So there's like there's a formula to figuring out where everybody lands on the pay scale. However, the reason that I believe women are paid less is because women haven't learned how to master the art of negotiation. And I have to tell you, and I have to give credit to my husband because every single time I remember every single time I would get a new job, he would sit and tell me how to negotiate.
Mm,
So I, every time, negotiated like a man.
mhm,
And I remember when I negotiated for my last job, after I negotiated everything, and you negotiate everything piece by piece, like you got to
mhm,
negotiate salary separately, bonus
mhm.
separately, your everything separately. Um, I remember the recruiter saying to me, "Wow, you good for you. You just negotiated like a man." And I said to him, "No, I negotiated like someone who knows her worth." And the thing is that um I remember this is going back 20 years. What happened was I was at a company and I was making like 40,000 or 45,000, something like that. I got laid off. And then I was going for this other job, and the job was at the next level. And I'll never forget how that negotiation went. And so my husband and I, we were dating at the time. He went and he researched how much these jobs pay, what this pay bracket is. It's like he did all this like deep, insightful research. He came back and he said, "You need to ask for a salary range of between 65 and 75." I was like, "Are you crazy? I was just making 40. How am I going to go from 40 to 70,
Mhm.
from 40 to 65? Can you imagine? That's like a 50% whatever jump, right?
Yeah.
It's almost double." And he said to me, he goes, "It has nothing to do with what you were making. It has everything to do with what you should be getting paid for the work that you're going to be doing." And I was like, "What?" Like, because nobody ever talked to me like that. Nobody ever taught me anything like that. And so I went and I asked for the salary, and like nothing. They were like, "Oh, we'd like to offer you a salary of 70,000." They didn't even bat an eye, Chrissy. And I remember coming home, and then do you know what he said to me? Do you know what my husband said to me? He goes, since they didn't bat an eye at 70, you go back and say and renegotiate and ask for 75. And I said, are you nuts? 75? Like life altering. And I'm like, there's no way in hell they're gonna pay me that. He goes, what are you talking about? I've done the research on the company. This is what they're paying people in that role. Go ask for that number. Trembling, trembling with my eyes closed. I remember asking for the money. Again, you do something, but you do it scared. And I said, well, thank you so much for the 70,000 offer. I'm so excited, but do you think you could do 75? And I was like, I remember being on the phone, holding the phone. I was like, oh my God, they're going to say no. And the guy was like, okay, well, let me go back to the hiring manager. Within an hour, they got back to me and they gave me the 75. So, Chrissy, just by negotiating uncomfortably for a minute, it was uncomfortable. One
Hmm.
minute, they came back and I made $5,000 more, just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a good lesson. And I hope the people who need to hear this because I do agree with you. I don't think it's anything to do with the people who are hiring us. I think it's just to do with like, I mean, the people that are hiring you, they're gonna try to get as less as they can, right? Like they're not gonna offer you fucking six figures if you don't ask for six figures. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there are some jobs, obviously, like I mean, I guess some may have like certain ranges, but like they're if they can hire you for 90,000 as opposed to 100,000, they're gonna do it. Like they're in the business of making money. Like they're not going to pay you. But if you go in there and say like, I'm not going to take that, like that's too low. Like I need to make 120,000, like you need to go in there and ask for that. And I definitely agree that like we just aren't taught that as women. And a lot of it does have to do with our upbringing, but a lot of it has to do with society and what society teaches us. And they don't teach us to even talk about this shit. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to like we're supposed to like rely on a man. We're supposed to like, be like Cinderella and like find that perfect man and let him support us and like we're, just like no, fuck that. Like we're
Yep.
badasses. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like we should be owning that. So, and that's what I love about your community. So, just to talk about that just a little bit because it just kicked off on Thursday. It was Thursday, right? Yeah, Thursday.
Okay.
So, and let me tell you, so first of all, I have to tell you, when you first, of course I told you I want to join, like I'm all in, like I'm ready. Um, and we were talking in the community tonight, and people were talking about like how it's also that fear of dread, which I have that too, because I don't want to look at it. Like I don't want to look at all this stuff. But when you start, so we're using WhatsApp as our community chat. And when you first told us that, I was just like, I was kind of like dreading that. I was like, I it's just one more thing I have to learn. Like, I don't want to learn WhatsApp, like all these things. Can I just tell you how much I love it, first of all? Because I don't feel like my information is being like spread. Like, let's just be real. Like, we all love Facebook, but like, even in like the chats, like, you worry, like, because
Mm-hmm.
we all know that Facebook is listening to every word we say because you know, so like just that's an example. Instagram, TikTok, they all are the same. And like the WhatsApp, I don't know much about it, but I feel like we have these few women in here where we can just like divulge our secrets and be like, this is how I'm feeling. And for someone who's in their 40s, 45 for me, it's embarrassing to talk about like that we are still struggling with money and all of these things. And so it's so nice to have like this community and like this app that we're using that I feel like confident in being able to share with these women like what I'm going through. And like and they're going through their own struggles with money and I feel like very comfortable. And I just wanted to say thank you to you again for like creating that space for all of us to have that. Yeah.
No, thank you. First of all, WhatsApp is fully encrypted. So that's why I like about it, right? So fully encrypted as in like you can't just go and scramble it and hack into it. So that's why I like WhatsApp. And I also like the fact that, I do envision that one day this is going to be a global community. That's
Oh,
why I wanted to. That's why
yay.
I'm not using Messenger and I'm using WhatsApp because I wanted to be able to open it up to the globe. I really want to bring this to the world. How or when, like that, I surrender to the universe, but I wanted to build it in a way that we can, grow it that way and welcome everybody into our community. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, Chrissy, like what I want to say is financial freedom, you can only attain it when you've attained it in your heart and in your mind. I
Mhm.
don't know how else to say it. Because you can have millions and millions of dollars and not feel free,
Mhm.
and you can have just a tiny bit and feel completely free.
Mhm.
And it's an inner journey and it's an inner game. And
Mhm.
that's why I want us to all get to a point. Maybe it's not about you doubling your income, but it's doubling your safety with the income that you do make.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And it's creating a different flow of money in your life. you know, Looking at our finances and saying, okay, I'm going to set aside $20 and I'm not going to feel bad that it's 20. I'm going to celebrate that it's 20, right? Because you could be like, oh my God, I'm only setting aside 20. Or you could be like, holy crap, I'm setting aside 20 bucks every single week, right? Because when you compound it over time, oh my God, is that $20 going to add up, right? So I really want us to shift our perspective of what we're doing with our money. And I want to create more currency, more flow, because money likes to flow.
Mhm.
Money likes to flow.
It's
It
called
doesn't like
currency. Yeah.
it doesn't like to sit, right? And I want us to create the flow of money so that
Mhm.
it's flowing differently in our lives.
Yeah. So, something else I've started doing, 'cause just to touch on kind of what you said, is I have started like respecting and valuing any type of currency, even if it's a penny. Like used to be, I would go because I do try to spend cash. So like I try to like draw out cash at the beginning of the week, and just other than like my bills and my like big grocery bill, like my once a week big shopping, all that. Like I try just to like the little things like something to eat during the day, whatever. Like I try to just draw out cash and use cash for that. So I'm getting change back. And used to be if I got like a dime and a few pennies or like, 15 cents, whatever, all unless it was like a quarter, I would just kind of be like whatever, like I can leave it or take it or leave it. Now, like, this has been going on for a while now, for like a few months, but I value it all. Like, I don't care if it's a penny, like I'm putting that penny in my wallet. Like, I don't care if it's just whatever, and what I try to do is I try to put it in my pockets, like if I have pants with pockets on, because then when I come home at night, like I have a jar sitting on my island that says financial freedom jar, and
Yeah.
any like loose change I just throw in there when I come home, and I just like focus on that. So I don't know, that's something I've been doing. Yeah.
But I love that. And how does that feel?
Oh, it feels great. It feels great. Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, me and you both know that like the world is a mirror. We both know this. We're both spiritual and we know these things. And so like you can't attract something if you're not aligned with it and if you don't feel it on the inside first. So like you have to be grateful for like you have to be find a way to be grateful to pay your bills. Like you have to find a way to be like, you know what? Like, yeah, it sucks when you're paying out like $500, but you have to also think like it could be worse because I might not have this $500. Like I'm lucky that I have $500 to pay this right now, even if it's an unexpected bill. And that's like the thing that's happened with me. You know my stories. Recently, a few weeks ago, it happened. But like then you have to just be like, you know what? Like at least I have the money. Like yeah, it might be
Yes.
money that like I wanted to
100%.
save for something else, but like at least I have it and I can pay it or even like just anything like I can pay this money to have my lights on or whatever, and I just think that feeling grateful for those micro moments is important, so yeah.
100%. And it's bringing mindfulness into the way that you're behaving with money. So do you know that tonight, right before we were going to get on the podcast, I was cleaning up I have this like island in my kitchen
Hmm.
and and I put my mail on it, like all this
Me too.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
I shouldn't,
All the
but
things.
I do. So, and I see something that looks like a bill. And do you know what I did? Literally, instinctively, I took the bill and put it into the trash. And then I went, wait, did I just do that? And then I opened up the thing again. I took the thing out and I'm like, okay, I should at least look at it. And I literally had to take a very conscious breath because I don't know why I hate bills. I literally had to take a conscious breath, go, okay. I'm like, and I opened it. And I'm like, because I'm stewarding my money, right?
Yeah.
Because I got to practice what I preach. I opened it and I looked at it and I go, I'm like, it was the tax bill, right? And I'm like, well, is the bank paying the tax bill or am I supposed to be paying the tax bill, right? So there's this like all this stuff going in my mind. So at least I put it on the back on it went back on the island. So now I'm like, okay, I need to at least revisit this again, right? But again, it's like having being that level of mindful, right? Because we're just functioning on the automatic, right? Like we're just like autopilot. We don't even know what we're doing anymore. So it's retraining ourselves to behave differently with everything that's money related. So I'm super inspired by, the community. And what's really inspiring is the conversations that are starting. And like, because we're really all starting to open up. Because in the beginning, it's kind of like, do I know these people? Like, am I going to open
Hmm.
up? So it's always pushy in the beginning. But I'm really inspired by the conversations. And, it's really just I feel so honored. I feel so honored and so excited, like creating the content and like what do I want to have come through. And literally this morning, I was going to send out something totally different. And I said, you know what? I really just want to send a love note to everybody in
Love
the
no.
community. So I
Oh,
sat down and I recorded it. And I was like, I want to send you guys a love note
yeah. Yeah, it
to
is
kick off
inspiring
my
with
day.
it is inspiring because I know, some of us, which I've met both the women. There's four of us so far, all together, and I've met them both in Zoom chats, and it wasn't even a long time. I like them both. And yeah, we were having some conversations today where we were just all like chatting back and forth this evening before we jumped on here, and we were sharing stories and we were just kind of talking about like different issues we were having and where our struggles are coming from, and again, it's like I want to say we're all like around our age, right, Vicky? We're all older, right?
We're all, yeah,
We're all like in
all. Yeah,
40s.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So that's
Yep.
another thing that I think is just so inspiring because like it's when you're in your 20s, it's like obviously we expect you to be bad with money or we expect it to be like not like great, right? But you're in your 20s, like you don't know what the hell you're doing. But like when you get to your 40s, you're kind of expected to like have learned, but that's not the case with a lot of people out there. And you feel embarrassed about it. And so, like, I know for me, people look at what I make and they're like, why would you have trouble like with anything? And I'm like, because like
Right.
something always it's just like it's a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go into all of it, but a lot of things. And so to have a community where you can like talk about that and people aren't looking at you like in a judgmental way, is really nice. Yeah. It's really nice.
No. And I think that, just one last point is that we have people at every income bracket and very
Hmm.
different life circumstances, but yet we all have the same stories.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think that that's really, really important. So
Hmm.
it's not about whether you have a family or don't have a family, have a husband, don't have, because my sister doesn't have a husband, right? Like she doesn't
Hmm.
have kids. So, but yet she too is like, she was sharing about like some of the challenges that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
she's having, right? So
Exactly.
it's it's a similar story.
Hmm.
And that's what unites us. So, anyways, I'm so inspired. I'm so excited. And, I did one of those like TikTok things where I asked the question. So I'm thinking about, and I'm actually going to do it, and I want to see like what happens. But I've decided that I'm going to revamp my newsletter that I send out to the people that have signed up to my newsletter, and I'm shifting it to where I'm going to have something about like money mindset. We're going to do an affirmation, but then I also want to get into like what's happening in the markets. So like on Mondays, I want to do an issue where I talk about like what earnings reports are coming up or what's happening in the broader markets. And then on Fridays, I want to do a little bit of commentary of what happened in the markets this week, like for example, like Palantir is going to do an earnings tomorrow or this or that, right? Like I
Mm.
want to start getting people comfortable with market news, market analysis, just so that everybody's educated and aware of what's happening. So, anyways, and I wrote on
Awesome.
TikTok, I was like, "Oh, is this something you'd be interested in?" And like so many people responded, so I was like, "Okay, I guess there's a need for something like this." So again, it's
Wow.
that blending of spirituality, mindfulness, money mindset with actual financial
Practical tools.
information.
Yeah, practical. Well, that just gives us content for our next podcast because I'm sure you'll be on again, but like we'll have to come on and talk about like the markets and you'll have to share some tidbits there with us. I try not to go over an hour because I don't want people to, I feel like an hour is like where people kind of start to be like, okay, well, it's like too much, right? So, but first of all, I want to know, is there any last things that you want to say to anybody out there? Any last tidbits of wisdom from Vicky D.
You're never, what I would say is you're never too old, but don't wait too long. If there is a dream that you have, go for it because you wouldn't have the dream unless there was a version of you that has already created the dream and unless there was someone that needed whatever you want to bring into the world. So just go for it. Stop waiting. There's nothing to wait for. The moment is now. The time is now.
Mm, mic drop on that one. So, we can link your information in the show notes, but like, where can people find you? What are the easiest ways for people to find you?
So YouTube, Vicky D. You think I'd know by now. I don't know. We'll put it into the show notes. But I've been putting up a lot of content there. It's not an intuitive handle, clearly. On TikTok, I think I'm VickyD.1, I believe.
Oh, I
Um,
can go on there and look and
um,
link it in the show notes. Yeah.
and then my website, really, VickyD.me. So
Okay.
VICKI.me.
And do you have the on your website, can people like join your community from that
Yep.
website? You have a link and they can join the community from that website.
Yep.
So, okay, guys, I'm gonna link all that in the show notes. So come join the community. We're building a community over there. Vicky's building a community. I'm along for the ride. We're all along for the ride. So if you have some issues with money and you're ready to take control and be the badass bitch that you can be with your money, then come join us in that community. So it's gonna be fun. All right,
Oh,
Vicky. It
good.
was so good to see you and to talk to you and to have you on the podcast. And I'm sure you'll be coming on again too. So
Thank you. And thank you, Chrissy, for creating such a beautiful space. I love your podcast. And thank you for just taking people on this journey and for letting them know that they're not alone in this and that
yeah,
they do have you to take them on this journey with you.
of course. All right. Well, until next time, guys, we love you so much, and I will see you next week. Bye. Mwah.